Pretty important episode. Yet again, I am not engaging in my engine development, but instead this. But something has happened, and I have been putting this aside simply because I'm running out of space, running out of time constantly. Hopefully it doesn't happen now. I'm going to talk about diversity in love. Something has happened that, I tested whether the demon world actually works as a concept, and it just works over and over again. And what happened today, I just was able to identify what was going on. I was useful to a person, and I immediately understand that I can, if I trust that person, I can help him, sort of give the resources, but that's it, right? I can waste my time and give a little bit of a resource and help a little bit. Similar to what happened with Vintage Story, I think the creator also happens to think a very similar way. I was talking with like an old fan of mine, apparently. I was going through some hard stuff. It seems that I have been able to identify him as a werewolf, as his nature, right? And when you understand that this is nature stuff, and this is not just monsters, right? Monsters are just there to easily depict the personality. It's very interesting, like Ant-Venom. Really, it's easy to just put it together like Angst Venom, talking directly about some kind of disease and anxiety of holding diseases together whenever you want to release them. And then there is this guy, Mr. McChill. Also seemingly has a very interesting personality trait encoded in his name, aligning with the wind personalities I have described before. Even the word Michael might actually have something to do with it, because this Thanacon thing that was going on is exactly the same thing. The Thanacon episode of Shane Dawson. I identify Shane Dawson as werewolf as well. Very interesting. I would be able to like help him, so to speak. Very interesting indeed. Because I have the resources. The way werewolves behave, they have the highest ego of all. And they reject truth because they believe that they know it. Know everything. Simply because the way that they live, I suppose. The way they care about trust and bonding with people. I don't know. There's a lot to learn, because I just found someone that I can talk with at the same level about things that sort of we care about both. So that's really cool. It just kind of proves to me, and every single interaction kind of proves to me, like, okay. And the most important proof is that I knew this guy is different from me. He thinks completely differently from me. It's so weird. And he's struggling with completely different problems too. Because my problem is like, well, I always wanted to be independent, not go in a certain direction, just follow my passion, do whatever I want. But if you don't have such a passion, if you never really worked as hard as I did, It's a bit different. And there's more. It's a lot more. It's very interesting. Again, the first thing you have to do is figure out what your nature is and then embrace it. Figure out which monster type you belong to and then just understand how it works. And the reason why you would want to share a little bit of yourself to other people, just like I would want to talk with a werewolf, which would be capable of abusing me, right? But if he is capable of containing himself, I can, give a little bit of myself and he'll be able to embrace that instead of using me, right? That's the difference. So I'm able to kind of trust my resources that I collect as a depressive personality. But this guy says, well, I try to make everything optimistic. Try to look everything optimistically. I mean, I do that, sort of. I look optimistic, but there are so many things that I want to do that it's just impossible in a way. Anyways, let's move on to the meat, which is this leftist bullshit about diversity and transgender people, different sexualities. Yeah, that's kind of the conclusion that I made, because Peter Joderson, as I like to call him now, he got in trouble with this, but the core idea is that transgender people are actually pretty harmful to society unless they really find their own place, because they go against their own gender. They're kind of scared of their own gender, I would say, because you cannot be born naturally. You just cannot be born without a specific gender, first of all. So then you can be born with certain fears, but you just cannot be born being one gender but wanting to be another gender. It's like, that makes no sense. The real thing is, like, you're probably just scared of being your own gender in a way, because of what that means to you, and that the other gender seems a lot more empowering. Just something like that. You just cannot be born that way, because the most efficient way is just cannot be inscribed in nature, right? If gender fluidity was a thing, there wouldn't be specific genders to begin with, right? You would be able to actually jump from one to the other naturally, but that's not the case. Just like you cannot be not human and turn into a fucking rabbit or a wolf. You cannot do that. You cannot jump. You have to work with what you have. And it's a very radical roles as well. It's a very radical camps. This is how I define it. The men. Nature loves men. Let's put it that way. This is how the whole dynamic works. Because men are capable of surviving in nature, while women are capable of surviving below men, sort of learning from their love that they learned from nature. This just kind of works that way, because they have to take care of children. They have to send love, or teach love to children. They're focused on completely different thing. Men cannot love directly children. They cannot even have them. They cannot take care of something like that. Just like, as I've said, there is a difference between creators and breeders. back in the day, and I would pick up those two different things, but like we have that already, is the genders. One is the breeder gender and one is the creator. They don't mix simply because of the such a huge burden that you have to take. And why not just do it naturally, right? If you can have children, then have children. Obviously, if you live in a society, it's a little bit different. You're capable of adopting children because, and you should focus on doing that because it's a society. And I think that's what should promote most of the transgenderism, so to speak. Simply because you can adopt other children. That's the only thing that kind of can break this cycle, this chain of logic. Anyway, and there's a lot of children to adopt again. So, again, that includes being gay as well. Transgender and being gay, it's similar. You cannot be born gay. You can only be scared of being a certain gender, right? And the science can say, oh, that is a gay gene. Well, that is not a gay gene. You probably don't understand how logic works. Science doesn't give a fuck how logic works, okay? Science just wanted to deny God and create too big to fail models. That is just vampirism, okay, guys? Figure that out. Too big to fail model is about sucking up other people's success. It's like copy striking everyone who finds success that's remotely similar to what authority already did. Or, in other words, you get taxed by the authority, by the government. You do anything, you gain any profit, and that profit is taxed because government takes all the credit for your profit. That wouldn't happen in a cryptocurrency system if it's done secretly and properly. So that's going to be the resistance tool. But that's what's going on right now. This is the too big to fail model, is where you get success and the government takes it away from you because you got to give credit to the government. It's their idea. You live under an establishment right now. Absolutely. And we kind of do. We kind of have to admit to that, and that monopolies will only fail until we figure out how to decentralize the systems that we depend on. That's basically it. Hey, you guys want to have SpaceX? That's my pun. For all the zombies out there who are being abused. I talked about the left a little bit and how this diversity thing is a cry for help. Diversity is a little bit different from what I just talked about, which is gay and transgender people. It includes other races, obviously. Why doesn't it include Chinese people? Like these people are probably the most diverse ones that we can actually put and flood in jobs because they're so smart. They come from a different culture. They would probably find themselves specialized in some areas that, we haven't thought about even. Or we just don't have people in those places. So why is that not happening? That's how I define diversity. Let's let the Chinese people take care of this shit. And not just force diversity just because it feels right. No, it doesn't feel right. I am doing this work because I'm a man. Only a man can do this work. This is not very social work. You gotta really put a lot of thought for yourself. You cannot rely on other people. And women love to socialize and be all over the place. but not men. Men like to focus things and be alone for the most time, and figure things out and create in the first place, and figure out what nature is about again. That's what they do. And then they share it with women eventually. This wage gap is the most stupid thing ever. Obviously, it's just like one of those smart people who got kicked out of Google said. Actually, James Damore or something. Women are just simply not rewarded for their behavior, and that kind of creates the wage gap, if there is such a thing, because women already have crazy opportunities to earn money otherwise than just have a job, and I think they get more money than men because men give them money anyways to take care of home and family stuff. Like, that's it. That's what you do as a woman. But if you're single, you're probably gonna fucking start feminism really quickly. You hate men because you are single, not because you're in a bad relationship. That makes more sense. Just like I hate women because I'm not in a relationship. I cannot figure shit out yet. But now I kind of figured it out. I figured out what love is and what I will try to find. I'm not sure if it's going to be easy to do, but this is what I figure out, that you first love yourself is the most important principle. You love yourself. So everything that's going on right now is where you love diversity. It's actually the opposite. Nobody can actually love diversity. They can experience and like it, but they bring that experience home. They have to go away from that experience and find their home. Find the person who they can relate to in a deep, deep level. That's gonna be the person that you're capable of loving, not the person who gives you an experience that you just kind of, or a person who gives you a service that you just kind of get addicted to. And a lot of people go into those relationships where they really need some kind of service, but in order to get that, they need to get into a relationship, and they get stuck that way. That's why I say love never really existed. It's just impossible to find an example of love. Point any relationship and I'll be able to probably break it down how these people are not really defying what I just explained, that you have to love yourself and then find yourself in other people. You have to find not the most diverse person, but the most equal to who you are, because that's a person that you can trust. If you first learn how to trust yourself, and then you can easily trust a person who's just like you. So that's what it is. This is what I'm gonna end my video at. And it's very important. Now, what is happening with the zombie apocalypse? Yeah, there's a lot of shit happening. Let me think if there is anything else. There is an overflow. Diversity is an evil tactic at this point. This is what zombies put, because they want to think that there is something that they can change that will change so many things, and it will bring so much amazing experience for them. But the reality is that they're being attacked, and their fun in life is being sucked dry by vampires right now. That's the real reason why they cannot experience life properly, and they cannot feel good about themselves, and they become single for a long time. They just cannot find a service either that would help them. Just stuff like this sort of creates the state of zombie apocalypse, but it's more of a vampire apocalypse, because you know that's what causes the whole thing right now. Anyways, it's complicated, right? But I'm gonna repeat myself again. Right now, you just cannot have pure experience of life. You cannot even experience what God is, because science says, oh, it's just Big Bang. Oh, it's just stuff in the brain. Oh, yeah, sure. Slowly, science is fading out. We're going to see the collapse of that. We're going to see the collapse of authority. And we're going to open up the gates for experience again. And that's great. Everything's going to be fixed. Isn't that wonderful? See you guys later.